Hello everybody, I'm Willow and I'm going to be doing some spoken word for you today and I'm going to open with the third song from my set list and then I'm going to do number 1 and 2 and maybe we can have a chat about why I've made those decisions afterwards. So this is a true story. This is Song of Sandy. It's about my mum's boyfriend who drowned whilst trying to clean his act up from heroin withdrawals. This is a Song of Sandy. Packet of pills and a bottle of brandy. And this is the song he sang to me before the white shore shook him and the raw horse took him. The white shore shook him and the raw horse took him. Drinking in the Coast Guard cottage, talking of boatyard knowledge, with a sad sardonic glower, his tales they soon turned sour. He said, "Boy, I used to be just like you. Now my joys, they are far and they are few. I've lived a life equal to any man. I love your mum, you understand, but I cannot be content till my demons they are all spent. Rachmaninoff tears scroll down hollow cheeks. Standoffish fears, life's callous defeats. I've left my waverings wandered, pillaged my life's plunders. Heart's treasures times 100, goddamn thundered, bored, blind and blundered. Hands hunched in pockets, elbows bobbing with stride. Staggering round till the pub closed, he threw down his blood-red rose. Angling for sobriety. He bought a fishing rod and went up Rinsey on his Todd. A rogue wave, a misplaced step, and Sandy's fate was met. He'd had so many schemes and followed all his dreams. He'd sailed and built, been nailed with guilt, loved and lied and screamed and strived. He'd worked for Spielberg, and that's real, my bird. And he built a Dalek, and that's a proper yardstick. But in the end, he drowned. Not his sorrows or sober tomorrows, only himself. Nicotine breath, deep, husky tongue. Steam-powered chest, the insouciant express, all overboard, his hazy train of thought. Toot, 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 toot. This was a Song of Sandy, packet of pills and a bottle of brandy. And this was the song he sang to me before the white shore shook him and the raw horse took him. The white shore shook him and the raw horse took him. Thank you very much. So I've just finished 6 months of intensive psychosynthesis therapy, which is where you identify all the different voices inside yourself and try and get them working in a little bit more of alignment, all the different parts of yourself. It's a bit like parts therapy. Now, some of these voices have started coming through in my poetry. So this next poem I normally do quite aggressively, sort of in this sort of punk rocky, Sid Vicious sort of style. But I'm going to try doing it in a slightly different way today. So this is Scumbag Ne'er-do-well living in a field. Scumbag Ne'er-do-well living in a field. Plastic fag ash and hedgerow tad stash. Turn around, step and shit. Bonfire burning every bit. Scumbag Ne'er-do-well living in a field. Rabbit dog fights and revving scramble bites. Bloody muddy war wound and buried fridges on the dunes. Scumbag Ne'er-do-well living in a field. Rotten caravans and empty beer cans. Wannabe dreadlock hippie got home to Mississippi. Scumbag Ne'er-do-well living in a field. Bin bag compost and condom wash pods. Potential murder mattresses and decomposing atlases. Scumbag Ne'er-do-well living in a field. Step toast junk shop, banjos, funk flops. Bring your donkeys here to cry. Let's get wonky, wank and cry. Scumbag Ne'er-do-well living in a field. Gypsy braver, power band saver. Do us all a favour and get away from us here, neighbours. Scumbag Ne'er-do-well, better keep yourself concealed. Scumbag Ne'er-do-well, don't get yourself revealed. Scumbag Ne'er-do-well evicted from the field. Scumbag Ne'er-do-well driving to his tune. Scumbag Ne'er-do-well coming to a village near you soon. What with this and what with that, what with tit and tit for tat. Dot the T's, cross the I's, break up please and she cried. I need a Raja fuck eyes. Break up, please, and she cried. I need a spiky, pikey, queen of the unsightly, damaged psyche, hoarding tightly, in mental or unlikely, slightly suspect, best you've ever met. 10 ton of talent of the T's, taking cash. Here, what with this and what with that, what with tit and tit for tat. Got the D's, crossed her eyes. Break up, please, and she cried. I need another wannabe geezer, leggy and dealer, wannabe healer, cold comfort yogurt breather, no achiever, massive sideshow, massive aggro. How long on can this go? How long on can this go? How long on can this go? Off! Thank you. So this set will consist of only one more drum accompany piece. There will be a piece on the tambourine later. I'm going to encourage you all to clap along. There will be some folklore, some fishermen's laments. There will be some trauma-informed poems towards the end. Before we close with a singing circle with Sarah, I don't know if you just saw her Icaro singing. She's going to come on, and we're all going to. I'm going to bestow upon you some mantras, a mantra I've written. And we will close with the singing circle. I'm also toying with the idea of doing a Hitler joke in the second half, but I'm still testing the water with you guys as an audience. So, without further ado, the next poem I'm going to do, I'm going to dedicate this to my friend Karen Brown. She taught me a lot about Cornish culture, and she taught me the phrase "dig where you stand." So much of what I write about is informed with what's in my immediate peripheries, so most of it's basically stuff to do with being in a fishing village or being in Cornwall, and it does seem like I don't get out very much in that sense. So this is St. Piran's Day toast. I normally do this on St. Piran's Day. It's not St. Piran's Day today, but I'm sure we can just imagine it. St. Piran is a controversial figure, believe it or not. Some people believe he was brought Christianity to a heathen population. Other people see him more as a religious colonialist. So there's like a nuanced debate there. And so this is a comment on that slightly. I want to write some words about Cornwall, because, it just ain't normal that many around us regret what the roaming hordes forget. I want to praise this great land and help all to understand trade, invention and pilgrimage, just some of the reasons how the wild world was shaped by this tiny region. From the original ancient granite obelisk origins of the Neolithic nomadic foragings, who arranged sacred stones in homage, unspoken rituals pertaining their promise. Though history's awakening was still yawning, the Bronze Ages they were adorning. A wide empire was stretching its bourning. The global Celts had commercial desires. In demand was our kin, for it was required by the smiths and their smoking alchemic fires. Routes of passage breezed across oceans. Cultures exchanged their idiosyncratic notions. A stranger landed not far from here, preaching gospel to all who come near. A new religion to challenge the old. Will we convert when the truth is told? St. Piran, whose day is today, still looks down, I've heard some say. Ages on, with mining in our souls, the steam zeitgeist, technology's goal, labour and engineering our new export, Cornish diaspora on all shores abroad. Now with sand and surf, bringing tourists to our turf. It's easy to overlook just what's written in old books. I plead you never to ignore, and always remember that which has gone before. So let's all raise a glass and pledge a toast to the past, cause in honouring our retrospection, we give the present moment a brand new affection. Some of you noticed I am wearing a nose camera today. It is a conscious festival. The management didn't believe me that I could keep my nose clean for the weekend, so I agreed to wear the nose camera. So that's just explaining what that is to you. This next poem is going to be accompanied with these little gadgets I've got. This is about some sprites that live underground, and they're called the knockers, and they used to cause the miners a little bit of trouble, and they would leave a corner of their pasty to appease them, and This is a little poem about that, called Knockers. Hast thou ever heard a distant knocking? Not the gentle rhythmed rapping as of someone tapping at the door, but a full-on bang bang knocking that yawns beneath the earth's floor. Down, deep down in the dark, dank, hearty gloom, there's echoes that reckon a bad beckoning, and miners will listen for a ringing reflection of doom. Well, that's the knockers in the depths of the cave, creaking and crooking and nicking your spade. For they'll cause you much fuss, they'll call you a tusk, your dams will fall bust, and your shovels they will rust. The corner of your crust is then an each must, your favour they'll trust, and lead you to the gold dust. So do not cuss them naughty, nasty, knocking knockers, just give them some pasty, alright the cockers. This next poem was inspired actually after watching an episode of Poldark, I'm ashamed to admit. In the episode, Daphne du Maurier in her book Jamaica Inn really describes wrecking as a terrible, terrible thing, a really immoral practice. But in this Winston Graham story, it's the villagers needed the supplies. You know, they were like on death's door, let's say, and the supplies that come from the wreck actually really helped them. And I thought, okay, this is I don't feel like this has been explored in poetry or literature. And likewise, another misjustice in literature is the witch. You know, the wise woman of the village has been very much othered and persecuted and misunderstood. So this is a combination of those two ideas. This is Witch Tiff. Where the winds do howl and the sins do scowl, where the gorse grows foul as if born in the devil's bowel, behind an ever-present prevailing mist there sits an old cottage on a cliff. In dwells a crooked crone called Witch Tiff, whose very presence inspires all to hiss. Hunchbacked, eye-patched, hair of thatch and morals to match, her ceiling swings with pulsating sacks, her cauldron steams a thing she'd attach, or so say her fearful neighbours, misunderstanding the fruits of her labours. As when she brings ashore sailing traders, she secretly is a failing community's saviour. Never was anyone in doubt to ponder, desolate were their villages over yonder, failing crops and empty nets, a collective blunder, until bobbing ashore supplies come asunder. Fractured barrels and broken bundles, all number of characters they now trumble, passing packages, fingers to fumble. A boo, a blessing, well we mustn't grumble. Why, that to bewitch Tiff, raising the ocean bed rift, trumpeting a tempest and wreck the ship, saving our souls with what's come adrift. Ere she to cure and curse all manner of things, call and stall any number of winds, conjure that thunder and the storm begins. Then reef and rock and grief and shock, timbers split and masts a cock. In treacherous waters the vessel has come to dock, overlooking a topsitch Witch Tiff warlock. Hers a darkly light fate, like the illusion of lantern at the break. The lives she saves, the ones she takes, sacrificing sailors for the others' sake. Thank you. So sometimes you write things and they just take on a whole new significance for you many years later, in my experience. So yeah, I've been writing poetry for 20, 30 years, and sometimes I look at something I wrote a long time ago and it just takes on a brand new significance with new turns of events in my life. I've run a little small holding where we do community stuff, and last year we built a community healing space out of Straw Bales, and it was all done through home education workshops and working with people in recovery. It got me thinking. We talk a lot about carbon neutrality, but I've worked in construction a long time, and I guess I come up with this idea of karmic neutrality within the construction, when I'm on building sites, nobody really wants to be there. There's a lot of reluctance. People are in there for the money. Now, this structure that we built, everybody really wanted to be there. There was a lot of love, and so the energy that was put into it was done from such a place of positivity and empowerment. I found this poem I wrote in 2006 of a church I visited in the Greek mountains in Hyperbeaki, at the top of Greece. And it just sort of took on a new significance, really, with the activities I got up to last year. So this is the Greek church. Upon a mountain-bound touring coach trip, we bantered about with our shit British wit. Arriving atop the Grecian hills, we wiped our brows as the bus unfilled. On wild boar we did feast, indeed a rare treat of meat. 'Twas cooked by a dainty wild boar man, though old and frail, still gracious and grand. After the food and wine upon which we did dine, I wandered along, not expecting such a rare find. In the wilderness of the forest, at the end of a path, glory did stand, how my heart did laugh. The local hands had hewn with brightly illuminated precision a building whose effect was the work of magicians. In awe I saw stained glass Catholic emblems and old Greek gods of ancient resemblance. Pews fell from the trees not far from my own heart, a place of worship, divinely inspired pure art. I stood in the temple in the wood, humble, when bang, crash, more bricks in did stumble, swearing, smoking, joking and farting. I did directly declare my disgusted departing. Back aboard the bus, I ignored the others' fuss, pondering only on what they could not touch. So, I had a Kundalini awakening last year. Yeah, mental, really amazing. But it just so happened to coincide with a male menopause and just a pinch of psychosis. So I threw myself into a really huge healing journey. I said I had psychosynthesis, I've done hypnotherapy, I've done sound healing, I did trauma-informed boxing the other week. But by far the most effective tool in my healing kit was the metaphorical man tampon. Now I know what you're all thinking, don't worry, it was an organic metaphor, okay? So with that seamless link, I would like to introduce my next poem, which is called Organic. And in many ways, this audience, my projection of who I think you all are, you're my dream audience for this poem. So much of what we're doing here today is informed from the continent of India, you know, with the yogas and the chakra system and all of these. But what we don't talk about so much is the caste system over there. And I wrote this poem. This poem took me 10 years to write, between the first line and the last line, and I finished it about 8-9 years ago. I performed it a lot, and I forgot the reason I wrote it in the first place, which was a comment on the class system, really, the caste system, and how, if we're here now attending events like this, I would suggest we're in the top 1-2% of conscious enlightened people on this island that we live in. And so we've got to check our spiritual privilege here, I think. It really, you know, so many people don't have access to or even understand the benefits of these things that are on offer here today. They're too busy with their nose to the grindstone, and so this is a comment on that. It's so I'll just go into it. All right. I go to the green fields, riddled with Maccabees, herbalistes, and anti-capitalist agendas. The mud spoiling the Nike Max. The hideous facts too giddy and tact to ignore. Dogmas of peace and love, and each and every sustainable, maintainable lifestyle to aspire toward. And it's miles away from my state of play. Dropping litter, hopping bitter, hoping, choking, groping shitter. A contradiction in turns within me, but I don't put the metaphorical money where my mouth is. I can't afford to, and besides, I'm too busy trying to shake off the thick milk of my hippie upbringing, reverberating on a new nugget of knowledge and frying my cardboard brain in their name. My tent is stacked with Tesco's tap because it's cheaper than the farmer's market, so rats can get fat on their My tent is stacked with Tesco's tack because it's cheaper than the farmer's market. Fair and free is off out my trade range, no matter how I embark it. So rats can get fat on their finest organic crap, whilst good men dine on the basic blue stripe essential shite. I turn to burn off this destructive mentality, communing a new reality, changing morality and synchronising duality. So round the corner I speak to Krishna's learned, doing their God's work in earnest. Food free of animal suffering, of corporate guzzling, high street hustling, wafer and wine from a brand old time, orange bards of charitable persuasion, and opposition to my homeward position. Yet we speak and we listen, all whilst I watch a drop of pious perspiration flop from his forehead's inclination. It stirred, interred the communal lentil dals donation, and it reminds me of the right-angled wrong-uns behind that other bar, the perpendicular perpetrators regurgitating in your burger, consumerist hearts going to work in their golden march. Don't they have a tale to tell too? Spiritual ladders in their tight lives, striving, climbing in this contemporary capitalist hive. Fun meal, bum deal, fun stealed and skin forsaken, with no access to higher planes of thoughts to be taken. The unspeakable, peddling the uneatable, untrained, ungained, untouched and unable, souls gagging for basic lessons to be taught as staples. And can you bet Krishna's sweat, swallowed up on a spoon, digests different karma from the gob of a yobbed up, hollowed out, soon to be dead factory farmer? They're all the vegan tosh in the world, and all the fast food you'll hurl. It shouldn't divide us, partner, so don't count your chips too soon, because that down and out behind the counter might just be the next Dalai Lama. Thank you very much. Okay, so this next poem is actually a song by my favourite band, one of my favourite bands. They're called Chumbawamba. I get some really funny looks when I say they're my favourite band. They have a couple of pop hits that don't really represent their musical styles. They're like a protest choir. They write some amazing stuff, but they also find old songs and give them new life. And this is a song called Homophobia off their album Anarchy. And I just wanted to do it, talk about it, bring it into this, because I feel with what the new government talking about trying to dictate who can go in what toilets and trying to create hatred for trans people, I feel that no one really cares. No one cares about who goes into what toilet, I don't believe. What we care about is bombs blowing up schools and hospitals, and I think they're trying to distract us from the horror that is being peddled by the British government by creating hatred against minorities. And so normally this is sung, but I'm going to do it in the style of Jack and Nori. So, hello children. Up behind the bus stop, in the toilets of the street, there are traces of a killing on the floor beneath your feet. Mixed with the pissing beer are bloodstains on the floor from the boy who got his head kicked in a night or two before. Homophobia, the worst disease. You can't love who you want to love in times like these. In the pubs, clubs and burger bars, breeding pens for pigs, alcohol, testosterone and ignorance and fists. Packs of hunting animals roam across the town. They find an easy victim and they punch him to the ground. Homophobia, the worst disease. You can't love who you want to love in times like these. The siren of the ambulance, the deadpan of the cops, chalk to mark the outline where the boy first dropped. Beware the Holy Trinity, church and state and law. For every death the virus gets more deadly than before. Homophobia, the worst disease. You can't love who you want to love in times like these. Okay, so I'm going to do a little trio of fisherman-related songs. The first, I know what you're thinking. There are a lot of vegans in attendance here, and so much of Cornish culture is based around killing fish. But if we sort of rephrase it in our heads, fishing can be a metaphor for personal growth. So just think of it like that if you're offended by the notion of fishing. Just see it as a spiritual quest within. This is Opportunities Rock, and I actually did this with about a choir that I'm involved with. I did this on a TED Talk, so it's quite a famous one. In days of old and days of new, there's been a trade of plenty and of few. Fisher wives and their men who reap the sea, bringing home Neptune's crops for you and for me, battling bad winds and terrible weather, betting their lives on a seabird's feather, waiting ashore their family do worry, whilst far abroad men then harvest their quarry. Feasts are had of place and time, through others' wet-sweated labour in grease and grime. Boats are wrecked and lives are lost, for that fish on your plate comes at what cost? When the haul of the trawl at the end of the day is subject to the penalties paid on the market sway, merchants making shares unfair, then it's time for the truth of dare. To meet ends keep with what opportunities arrive, even, eventually and reasonably searching for other supplies. With taxes levied, rates of the state, means money to be made, even with laws to break. The vessels wrestle a brand new income, over borders with tall orders of baccy and rum. It's a simple case of supply and demand, except one false move and you're banged up on remand. The family's then broken open, with justice spoken in pastiche, all because daddy's been smuggling hashish. Thank you very much. So I'm going to move into a couple of laments now. This is start with one to my friend Stevie, who took his own life. A really tragic thing. No one quite understands why. He's absolutely lovely bloke, huge Scottish man. And then I'm going to go into straight away. It's quite macabre, the first one. I'm going to go into another lament straight away about Pete, who was he's a fisherman from Porthleven, and he mentored me. And he had a boat which was called the Peter Pan, and I went to live in London with him on a big construction project, and he's had a profound influence on who I am. But the poems sort of talk to each other a little bit once they're put together. So this is Ode to Scott Stevie. You were a sailor, raging against the ocean's looming bulk, like Popeye battling the incredible Hulk. 'Cause you were a fisherman through and through, seafaring hard worker, sure times are not back a few. That is the life of a boater, 'tis true, polarised as land and sea and toil and glee. You are a friend to many, with memories and stories aplenty. You are a girt lump with an unbeatable smile, and you saved me once going back a while from an urban gang intent on mugging, tackling them to the ground, then walking away, simply shrugging. So here's to you, Stevie, my mate, my friend, my pard. On yourself, you needn't have been so hard, for all your fearlessness, your towering height, gentle giant loveliness, and stoic weathered face, for your glazy-eyed Scottish grace, for your fragile mind, and fractured heartfelt kind, for the good times, and yes, for the bad times too. This last drink, Stevie, is for you. Swooping blackbacks squawk overhead. When shall we meet again? When the hurdy-gurdy's pulled, when the tides come and gone. Thick, nimble fingers untangle a labyrinth of nets. Their quick, fumbling thimbles knows what comes next. Squeezing boxes sail to set its rolling rhythms. Iridescent jet spray incandences salted prisons. A bright morning moon waxes not quite full, illuminating frayed ropes for pots to pull. Ursa Major glints in the suddenly darkened sky. Boats are bound, leaving the grieving to cry. The thick-shouldered bear says, do not ask why, steaming starlit as he's off to fly. So concentrate not on Pete's mortal abdication. Focus instead on his new constellation, the Pan in the heavens, navigated from old Porthleven. When shall we meet again? When the hurdy-gurdy's pulled, when the tides come and gone. Thank you. So I'm going to ask you all to do some clapping now. We're going to get the energy back up a little bit. This is mackerel lines. I wrote this down in West Penwith after a little dose of psilocybin, and I just had all these images of being on the shoreline, but with that sort of post-industrial stuff where the pollution is as beautiful as the natural environment, or as certainly ingrained in the scenario as there is still beauty in the evil of the plastic somehow. So this is down west. So, down west where all is clear, stone steps on the middle pier, night and sky singing yellow, tripping tales of the common spell. Summer's eve, silken star, trusted boats with mended tar, salted breeze, mackerel line, old shipwrecks and distant mines, toes and seals and ocean rats, lobster pots on open shacks. Seaworn coins, hosted weed, tinkers toiling everyday deeds. Summer's eve, silken star, trusted boats with mended tar, salted breeze, mackerel line, old shipwrecks and distant mines. Jossom, carried on cards, beacons keeping bright their cards. Autumn light, howling gales, limpets cling to old wives' tales. And summer's eve, silken star, trusted boats with mended tar, salted breeze, mackerel line, old shipwrecks and distant mines. Lapping waves, white horse spray, schooners and leasons leading astray. Nylon nets, heaped in piles, turning tides and twisted smiles. And summer's eve, silken star, trusted boats with mended tar, salted breeze, mackerel line, old shipwrecks and distant mines. Thank you very much. I'm going to do another one on the box now, I believe. Yeah. So I wrote this quite recently. It's the most recent one I've written. Wave a magic wand, start the breaking of a bond. 'Cause you don't know what you want, and you don't see what you have. Less is more is more is 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 less. Changing needs and setting tests. Ambiguous flippant roles. Iridescent shifting goals. Oh my days, it took its toll. Yo, Mrs. Change her mind again. Rearrange around the sense. A back paddle whack, give a man a chance. Slap down, hands round, sticking to a plan. 7 secrets on a rejecting still. Free my card, turntable, trouble, trick, skill. Yo, Mrs. Change her mind again. Rearrange around the sense. A back paddle whack, give a man a chance. Slap down, hands round, sticking to a plan. 7 secrets on a rejecting still. Free my card.